Hello, my name is Andy and I am the village idiot, and I'm on with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to Wakefield. Now, this parish is very interesting because the name of this parish is something I'm going to have to be very careful how I reference during this video, because I don't want YouTube to issue me with a strike for swearing, believe it or not, because this parish used to be known by a different name and it's now dropped one of the letters from its name. You don't need to be a genius to work out which letter that was when you see the name of this parish. And interestingly, the name of this parish doesn't crop up anywhere in the parish itself, apart from on parish notice boards and various objects like this planter right here, because the villages and settlements in this parish don't take that name. We have Netherton, we have Overton, we have Midgley, and we have Middlestown. I'm currently stood here at Netherton, but this video will begin in Midgley, which is that way down that road there. Welcome to Sitlington. Sitlington, historically spelt slightly differently with an H, was a township in the ancient ecclesiastical parish of Thornhill in the wapentake of Agbrigg and Morley in the West Riding of Yorkshire. The H was dropped from the name and Sitlington was adopted in 1929 with the approval of the county council. The population of the civil parish at the 2011 census was 5,963. It still comprises the village and hamlets of Middlestown, Netherton, Overton and Midgley, which is where we begin. A small settlement, Midgley has a modest amount of features which include a former pub, the Black Bull, a golf course in the form of Midgley Lodge Motel and Golf Course, and a former church on Stocksmoor Road. Midgley was known as Midgley in the 12th century and could either mean the large pasture or the midge-infested clearing. Here you'll find one of the parish's defibrillator machines on the corner of the old woodyard. There's a small, modest war memorial on the main road through the village, and some pretty houses too, along the opposite side. On average, Midgley's house price comes in at £440,000. Okay, so now we've left Midgley behind and we've come up the road to Netherton, where this video began, outside the cemetery, and that's the first thing you're going to see. And then we're going to take a little walk around Netherton village, which is not the biggest of the settlements here. That title belongs to Middlestown, which we'll get to after this. In fact, we'll do Middlestown after this and then head towards Overton, and then after that we have a prison to see, which is just inside the Wakefield boundary, and we'll finish at a place called Horbury Bridge. Let's go and see what this one's got for us. Now to Netherton, one of the three settlements of Sitlington that forms the basic crux of the parish and its name. Netherton village lies about 4 miles southwest of Wakefield, 3 miles south of Ossett and 1 mile south of Horbury. We begin in the cemetery at the far south of the village. Netherton is situated on the road from Horbury Bridge to Midgley on the B6117, on a hill above the valley of the River Calder. The underlying geology comprises the coal measures of the South Yorkshire Coalfield. Built on those coal measures, it's unsurprising then that the village, like many in Wakefield, has a coal mining history, most notably with Caphouse Colliery, which falls within these parish boundaries. A little later on, we'll be seeing Caphouse as it's now a museum. A mineral line connecting Caphouse Colliery to the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway's Barnsley branch and coal staiths on the Calder and Hebble navigation at Calder Grove passed through Netherton. It passed the hamlet of Little London on South Lane, which was the location of Victoria Pit, another of the local mines. There was also Prince of Wales Pit, locally known as Wood Pit, which was sunk near the line near Newhall Wood in 1870, and its shaft was deepened and widened in 1882. Prince of Wales Pit would eventually be renamed Denby Grange, Prince of Wales, and it merged with Caphouse Colliery in 1981 and closed in August 1991. There was also Hartley Bank Colliery, sunk in 1872. This was the scene of a mining disaster in May 1924 when fire damp ignited, killing 5 miners and injuring 26 men. Now we come across the Star Inn on the main road through the village, where Netherton Lane becomes Upper Lane. A Mesolithic axe was found near the Star Inn in 1963. So here at the Star Inn, there's a bend. You've got South Lane that goes off between the Star Inn and a shop there, or what looks like a shop at least. Might be a former shop in fact, because it doesn't look very open to me. And there's a bend here that goes around to the left. Now, in a little while, I'll be taking the car up there because it's the way I need to go anyway to get towards Middlestown and Overton. And I'll be walking around that part of Netherton very shortly. But for now, we're heading up this public footpath, which is directly opposite the Star Inn, because this will take us through a housing estate and towards Netherton Village Hall. In more modern times, Netherton is known for being the place where the members of the indie rock band The Cribs are originally from. All the villages in Sitlington are built around and overlook the Coxley Valley, and there's a pretty good view across it from Netherton, it has to be said. I don't care what the weather's like, you try telling me that's not an amazing view. In total, Sitlington Parish covers 3,412 acres in the valley of the River Calder. The village hall is located on Coxley View, an appropriate name, and is available for community groups and individuals to use for a wide range of activities and events. The rest of the walk around this part of Netherton is generally residential, save for the Netherton convenience store coming up in a few shots' time. Time then for some more general information about the parish of Sitlington. Sitlington has Anglo-Saxon origins. It possibly began as a settlement connected with scyttel, spelt S-C-Y-T-T-E-L, which is either a personal name or a bar or gate which bolts shut. To the other end of Netherton next, and this is the much older part of the village. Here we find Netherton School, which actually uses the Sitlington name. This is Sitlington Netherton Junior and Infant School. Netherton Sports and Social Club is right next door. Netherton Hall is a Grade 2 listed manor house, and this was built around 1775 for the Perkins family. And this is what Hall Croft refers to. Netherton, Middlestown and Overton are all names which refer to Sitlington as a whole. Netherton means the lower town, Middlestown literally means the middle town, and presumably Overton would have meant Overtown or the upper town. As well as these three main settlements, in the Coxley Valley is the small hamlet of Coxley between Netherton and Middlestown, recorded as Cockesloe at the end of the 12th century, which meant a dell where there were cocks. Netherton's average house price is much lower than that of neighbouring Midgley at £221,000. St Andrew's Church now, and this was built in 1881 to the design of J.D. Sedding. Fun fact for you, around Sitlington Parish you can find some old stones, one of which is here at the church. It's called the Dog Stone, also known as the Stock Stone, implying the village stocks once stood here. It can be found on a corner east of the church. It has a worn upper surface, suggesting it may have been used as a mounting block. See the link in the description for a sketching of the stone, as I didn't find this out until after filming. That's pretty much all the information I could find about the church. Information was more than a little bit thin on the ground for this one. So it's worth noting that this isn't the only religious building here in Netherton. I did pass another churchy type building, I'm not quite sure what it was, on the drive between the two sections, but I'll find out what that is and I will cover that in the picture bit. We're done with Netherton now, so now it's time to head to Middlestown. Now to Middlestown, located halfway between the city of Wakefield and the town of Huddersfield. The population of the Middlestown built-up area at the 2011 census was 2,366, making this the most populated part of Sitlington. The M1 motorway is within 5 miles from the village. The A642 road between Huddersfield and Wakefield passes through it. It was built in the 1830s as a turnpike. The current new road turnpike replaced an earlier turnpike route along Sandy Lane, which had been approved by an Act of Parliament in 1759. Our route around Middlestown will take us through some housing estates later, which bring us to Sandy Lane and the Old Road, the former turnpike route. You can find another of the Sitlington stones in Middlestown too. Now preserved near Lady Ink's farm on Low Lane, it's believed the Turnpike Road milestone you'll find there must originally have stood at the junction of Low Lane and New Road. A toll road originally, the road's toll bars were removed in 1882. Whilst the village is not recorded in the Domesday Book, the place name can be traced back as far as 1322. The average house here in Middlestown these days will cost you £238,000. As we walk through these housing estates, let's talk demographics next. Sitlington Parish is made up of 97.8% white British citizens, and there's a fairly sizable ethnic minority here, generally Asians. Sitlington's population covers an area of 13.81 square kilometres, giving it a density of 424 per kilometre square. So remember that view we saw in Netherton? Well, here's the other side of it from Middlestown. The Middlestown built-up area contains 2 nature reserves managed by Yorkshire Wildlife Trust, both of which get a mention in today's picture bit. In the valley you can find Coxley Wood, Newhall Wood and Middlestown Circular, which is a 6.1 kilometre loop trail that features beautiful wildflowers and is good for all skill levels. The trail is primarily used for hiking, walking and running. There's a large park here, Middlestown Playground, situated off Sandy Lane. Okay, we're pretty much done with Middlestown now, and now it's time to go to Overton, and I'm not going to spend very long there because Middlestown and Overton sort of merged together with housing estates and things like that. It's kind of all one settlement. So I'm just going to take the car down towards Overton, which is that way past the playground which you've just seen. Take a couple of shots down there, and then we're heading over towards a prison and Caphouse. Overton is conjoined at its northeast to Middlestown, with Coxley Woods less than 1 mile to the southeast. In 1881, Overton's village occupations included 2 farmers, a shopkeeper, the manager of Caphouse Pit, and the landlords of the Reindeer and the Black Swan public houses. St Luke's Parish Church in Overton is part of the ecclesiastical parish of Middlestown with Netherton. Overton is significant here for it's the site of Caphouse Colliery, now known as the National Coal Mining Museum. It's a short way out of the village, situated on the A642, and we're working our way towards that. Now, of course, there's a bit more to Overton than that, but later on I'll be putting the camera on the dashboard to drive towards Horbury Bridge, can't even say it, and you'll see the other side of it. Now we're heading down towards this prison which I keep talking about. It's a very interesting one. It's had a few interesting inmates in its time, one of which was very, very famous. HM Prison New Hall is a closed category prison for female adults, juveniles and young offenders. The prison is theoretically located in the village of Flockton, which is over the border into Kirklees, but it actually falls on the Wakefield side of the border. In 1933, New Hall became the first prison to implement the then experimental open prison system. Accommodation at the prison is mainly in cells. There's a mother and baby unit, healthcare centre, segregation unit and some dormitories. In 1999, the BBC programme Jailbirds was filmed at HM Prison New Hall, with the producers being given unlimited access to the inmates for a period of 8 months. New Hall was once a moated manor house and was the property of Sir Thomas Wortley and subsequently the Earls of Warncliffe. So obviously it's quite a distance away here, but I didn't expect to get really close to this. I'm not going to take the car down this track because I don't know how far I'm allowed to go down there, and being outside of prison I've always thought it's a bit difficult to try and film when, you know, I don't know whether it's actually legitimately legal on a road such like as that. I don't know if that's a private road, so I think just from here is the best place I've got to capture it. I know it's a long way away, but there it is. That's HMP New Hall, a female only prison, and that famous resident I was talking about, or infamous if you like, was 1 Rose West. Okay, next to see is Caphouse, which is the National Coal Mining Museum, and it's kind of funny really. We've seen a heck of a lot of old collieries and spoil tips and things like that on the channel, things that are mining related, and this is the place where you can see it all. You can see it all here. Everything mining related you'll find here. It opened in 1988 as the Yorkshire Mining Museum and was granted national status in 1995. The museum offers guided tours underground where visitors can experience the conditions miners worked in and see the tools and machines they used as the industry and the mine developed through the years. Above ground, right next to the road, you can see this colliery shunter named Progress, complete with a coal truck. I found this quite fascinating myself. The museum sits on a 45-acre semi-rural site with over a dozen galleries documenting the social and industrial history of the mines. The extensive library and archive contains issues of coal news and details of collieries throughout England. There are numerous other original features on site, including the pithead baths, steam winding house, boiler house and coal screening plant. Caphouse Colliery itself was sunk in the 1770s or 1780s and the Hope Pit in the 1820s. Sir John Lister Kay of Denby Grange took over James Milne's mineral rights in 1827 and his pits became Denby Grange Colliery. The boiler house and stone brick chimney at the museum are Grade 2 listed structures built around 1876 for Emma Lister Kay. The timber headgear at Caphouse and the wood frame screens building at Hope Pit date from between 1905 and 1911. Pithead baths and an administration block were built between 1937 and 1938. Okay, it's drive around time now. I'm going to put the camera on the dashboard and drive to Horbury Bridge, and at the end of that you'll get today's picture bits. So here they come right now. Finally, we end at Horbury Bridge, and you can't come here without seeing this marvel of engineering. This is the viaduct at Horbury Bridge, built as part of the Midland Railway's 8-mile route from Royston Junction to Thornhill, authorised under the 1898 West Riding Lines Act, which included lines to Huddersfield, Halifax and Bradford. Intended principally for freight, the route was used by the Bradford to St Pancras services for a 12-year period between the two world wars. The viaduct comprises 17 arches, 2 groups of 8, either side of a large skew span across the main Wakefield to Huddersfield Road. Each arch is formed of 6 rings, and end to end it measures 310 yards, with a 26 feet wide deck and a slight curve to the north at its eastern end. The Horbury Bridge area is effectively part of Middlestown, the part closest to Horbury and the parish boundary at the River Calder. A wooden bridge once spanned the River Calder on the road from Wakefield to Huddersfield here in the 15th century. Money for its upkeep was left in local wills dated 1404 and 1492, a custom that continued into the 16th century. A stone-arched bridge replaced the wooden structure in the 17th century, and it lasted until it partly collapsed in 1918. A new bridge was completed in 1930, and that is the bridge we're walking on right now. This was repaired in 1991 at a cost of £2 million. Horbury Bridge was flooded after heavy rain in 1946. And with the River Calder as my backdrop, that is it for the parish of Sitlington. I made it through the entire episode without having to use the former name, which is fantastic. It means that YouTube won't strike me with this video. Fantastic. There you go, that's the parish boundary here, the River Calder, and that way is the general direction of where I'm going next, although I think, I'm not totally sure on this without looking at the map, that there is an unparished area. The next place I'm going is a little bit beyond that, but that's where I'm going now. Another one down in Wakefield, and the next video you'll see in this series will be that one where I'm going right now. So this has been the parish of Sitlington, and I've been Andy, otherwise known as the Village Idiot, and from Horbury Bridge on the River Calder, I'm out.